welcome into another episode of Talkin Solutions with the Chesh. I'm your host, Will Cheshire, and today we have a special episode, our first international episode. A gentleman from the UK with us today and the founder of a company called Wing, Mr. Sina Sadrzadeh. And Sina, how are you? And thanks so much for joining us.
I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much, Will, for inviting me on. It's amazing to hear that I'm first, international. I remember on my podcast, my first one was first international was from the US as well. So I guess giving the favor back.
Yeah, beautiful little cross the pond interchange here. You got to love it. So Sina, tell us a little bit about Wing, about your company, what it is, what it does, and why it provides such a great solution to some of our societal issues.
Yeah, so I saw, and my co-founders saw a lot of innovation within online networking. So like platforms such as like Hopin, obviously like Zoom as well, like they were exploding during COVID. Obviously because people want to like meet each other still, like go to these networking events, go to meetings and things. But as that went by, we were kind of wondering, there's not that much innovation that's happened in-person physical networking. Like people are still kind of like lumped into a room, expect to, talk to one another without kind of like, like they expect to find meaningful conversations, expect to like, exchange contact information in the best way possible. And we kind of broke the whole transition from, I guess, like before you meet that person, as you meet that person, and then after you meet that person, and they kind of broke down the different pain points of each one. And we discovered there's so many different like pain points for each one of those different segments. And the one that we really wanted to focus on, that we saw, huge inefficiencies and like huge environmental waste from, was paper business cards. As a young person myself, and I guess like for you as well, like you'd hate to receive a paper business card. Like the first thing you do when you get given one is you throw it away. Like they're incredibly wasteful. And they're not just, this is another thing that people forget. They're not just wasteful in terms of when you receive one, but they're also wasteful because you order, say, 1,000, and then say if you get promoted or if your name changes, if you get married or like you change company or whatever, you have to throw away like, I don't know, 80% of those cards because you don't get around to using them all. And like the waste is pretty obscene. People don't really realize it, but the equivalent, like before COVID, when people were actually handing out paper business cards, the equivalent to 1,000 trees were being literally thrown away, like cut down, because that was the level of waste, right? That it was crazy. I think it was like 24 million paper business cards were wasted, like thrown away every day, and that's the equivalent to 1,000 trees. So that's the statistics, and yeah, it's a massive problem, and not only like the problem from the environment, but also the problem, I guess, of the limited nature of paper business cards and how outdated they are. When you get given one, it's like, yeah, it's cool, it's got the name and phone number and stuff, but people have kind of moved on from that. It's not just, people have got other things. People have got side hustles, people have got Instagram pages, people have got, graphic design portfolios, people have like a podcast, people have got so many different things and elements to them as a person that they can't showcase on a paper business card. It just doesn't have the space, right? So we came out with a contactless business card that's powered by the same technology as Apple Pay or Google Pay, so contactless technology. And basically, I could just show you how it works. You got your phone here, you just tap it there, and you just come up. Well, it's hard to do it like this, but it comes up with the profile. So that's me. It's the lighting's a bit poor. You just scroll down. So like that's everything there. So your Instagram is there, your LinkedIn is there. For me, my podcast is there. So you can have whatever link you want. And the cool thing that we put, a cool little button, is the add to contacts button. So if you press it, it just links up with the contacts app. So that just automatically saves all your information on their phone. So your email address, your phone number, and your name. So it's way more efficient than like having to read out, having to like someone actually say their phone number physically to you and then you having to like manually type it into your phone. It's way better than that. So yeah, that's what we came out with, and we've sold quite a fair few. And with this card, you can continuously update your profile. So if you change job, if you change your name, or if you get more experience, you get promoted or whatever, you can just change your profile. You can just change the links, you can change the backgrounds. So it's far more expressive, it's far more inclusive of what you're trying to do in life. And so you only need one card forever, one card for life. You never need to order thousands of paper business cards ever again. So in that way, it's incredibly good.
Absolutely. I mean, you hit on a couple of things there that really stood out to me, in the type of solution that the card solves, or the problem that it solves. Number one, it's modern, right? It's modern technology. It's 2021. Paper business cards, like you just said, I'm a prime example. I ordered a bunch of business cards right before the pandemic, and I think I've maybe given out about 20. I haven't thrown them away. I still have them, but nonetheless, they're just wasteful. They're just there. So you're solving that pain point and getting rid of all the just unnecessary waste, which is obviously a huge problem that we have all across the board. And number two, again, it's that technology that you have where it's just so simple. And for those of you listening on audio, you can check the video out on YouTube to kind of see how it works. But
audio listeners,
yeah, all good. Yeah, but you just pick up your phone, you just pick it up, you put the card really close. It's the contactless technology. And then next thing you know, you have links all over your phone, which is far better, right? Because like you said, there's an opportunity for business owners. I like myself, I have a services businesses on the side, but now I have an opportunity to do a podcast, your social links. So I think it really emphasizes there. But one of the things I wanted to touch on and ask you a little bit about as well was some of the environmental things that it solves. It sounds like part of your marketing, your pitch, and something that's obviously really important to you, and I imagine the other people on your team, is the fact that you are doing your part in helping to kind of eliminate waste and also put that message out that, hey, a business card doesn't seem like it would be doing a lot of damage, but when you accumulate all of it, it's kind of a big deal.
Well, I mean, it's not, I guess, like oil spills in the like Mexican Gulf or whatever, but it's pretty crazy. Like, it's something. This is the thing, right? Oil is like, or like other environmental issues. There's going to be some level of trade-off, right? Like when it comes to like cutting oil, it's like, yeah, but we need petrol for cars, or we need to like make plastics or something like that. I'm not saying those are right, by the way. I'm just saying like there's going to be some level of like pushback from those issues. But when you're thinking about issues such as paper business cards, it's such an easy thing to move on from. Like if you think about, I guess, plastic straws, right? I don't know how popular plastic straws are in the US, but in the UK and Europe, they're not used anymore. They're all paper straws now. But I guess 10 years ago, people were like, they don't really care about it. But now, I guess, like, it didn't seem like a big issue at the time, but because there's a huge accumulation of those plastic straws, it was a huge problem to the point where the government was like, no more, we're just doing paper straws now. So because this is the thing, it's an easy substitute. So with this contactless business card that we've got, it's not only an easy substitute, but it's like, it's a no-brainer for a lot of other things, because like it's so much more powerful than a paper business card. It's way more expressive. You can change your backgrounds. People can download your contact information with just one tap, rather than having to go home, manually put in your number from looking at the paper business card and then like, praying they didn't type it in wrong or whatever. It's just a lot easier. So when something is so easy to rectify and fix from an environmental standpoint, it doesn't make sense that a better solution doesn't exist. And so that's why I think this had to come around sooner or later, right? And like we've got some great new features coming up as well, like that would really help, augment this and sort of build a lot of software around sort of the other pain points that exist in in-person networking. I can't go into them too much at the moment, but like we want to really make paper business cards obsolete, because our software and our technology will enable you to get so much more value from talking to people in person. And the way to exchange information is with the contactless technology and with all the software that we put around it, would be like a no-brainer in terms of switching from paper business cards to what we have.
Yeah, I think the plastic straws are a really good example of that. You know, I mean, obviously in the U.S. it's so big, so I can't speak for everywhere across the U.S. But you know, I know in the area I'm from, Seattle area, plastic is definitely frowned upon. You know, it's bad. I mean, you might get people yelling at you for buying, you know, I don't know, bottled water or something. You know,
Yeah.
so let alone straws. Let alone straws. I mean, my sister's a huge proponent for none of that, and all about reusable straws. And so I find that interesting because it's one of those things where 10 years ago you didn't think about it, but now you don't really think about not having a plastic straw. You know, paper straws are just kind of normal. And that's a great point about the business cards, kind of just being a step behind that and following it in from the business world. Is it's just something that you don't think much about, but it's such an easy fix, and it will help. You know, it'll be hard to kind of see visually how much it helps, but it does really kind of help, you know, with the environment and things of that nature and the damage that it causes. And to top it all off, I want you to talk a little bit more about, you know, some of the cool features and what it does, because it sounds like, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, you can customize your links with themes and things like that. So tell us a little bit more about some of the cool features you can do with it.
Yeah, I mean, so we support over like 90 social media platforms. So like, we're talking like LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, like obviously email, phone number that you would normally get, WhatsApp. So like when you press the WhatsApp link, it automatically saves them as a WhatsApp contact. Telegram, Slack, like there's so many different platforms. And this is another cool thing, is that if there's a platform that we don't support, you can email us, DM us on Instagram, join our launch group, which is like a exclusive group of the first few owners of cards. You can suggest a new platform, and we'll make it for you. So many different people have like suggested new platforms, especially Telegram, because Telegram is something that I guess in the UK it's not very widely used, but we had orders from Israel and other countries where they do use it a lot. So we built that in for them. And so, yeah, with the profile, you got a bio, you got different themes, different colors that you can use. We'd love to be able to get to a point where, our next sort of iteration of the profile is, you know, being able to customize it even more. So being able to, I guess, change the icons, being able to change the background with a hex code, so you can select your own colors and all of that stuff. Really, I think the main thing that we've been working on for the past couple of weeks was the add to contacts button. Like that's a feature we're really proud of, because we're not just, I guess, like a lot of people say, we're just like Linktree, for instance, but I think we're like way more than that. And where we want to be is like way more than just Linktree, right? Because Linktree is obviously not built for networking. It's built for like, you know, Instagram or whatever. It's built for something else. Whereas for us, we only want to be a networking tool. So this feature that we built in, where you could press it, iOS or Android, doesn't matter. Your contact information is saved automatically. Because that's such a pain point when it comes to in-person networking. Oh, let me grab your number, and you have to type it in. Let me grab your name, and you have to pray that you don't spell their name wrong. Like my name's quite difficult, so it's happened a lot. Or like, let me add you on LinkedIn, and it's like, there's loads of people with your name. Which one is you? Like, there's so many different. Like, it's so slow. But with this card, because it's got all the different links, like it makes everything so much faster. And even like setting up a I guess a meeting with them, right? Like so many times I've been to a networking event and I'm like, I really want to like grab a meeting with you. What's your email to like email you about it? Well, if you can just email them then and there, like that would save so much hassle, right? Like, but you know, I guess that's just the way it is. Like we need to be the first or whatever to really concentrate on this. And you asked about the profile. We just have loads of colors, basically loads of different themes. And yeah, that's it really. You can put your location as well, which is quite a cool new feature that we put. Whatever photo you want, you can change it whenever you want as well. So yeah, those pretty much all the features on the profile side at the moment.
I'd be curious to hear a little bit. Well, number one, about the overall response you get, especially for the environmental things as well. But before I get into that, I'd be curious to see what type of business demographic has been your guys' kind of number one target and whatnot. I obviously am a digital entrepreneur, so I spend a lot of my time traveling. I spend a lot of my time interacting with other digital entrepreneurs. And, you know, I personally see this as like a really cool option for that, because now you're talking about people, you're always networking when you travel.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always meeting new people and you're always doing some cool things with people. And I'm like, man, if I had this car, it'd be super cool to just, you know, because that's what you do. You meet new people, and even if it's, you know, obviously if it's just a friend, then you get that. But in the business world, which, you know, for a lot of people that don't know, there is a pretty big traveling business, digital nomad entrepreneur community out there. I imagine that could be a pretty good base for you guys as well, in addition to traditional networking, like you said, at a hall. So just kind of curious to see where your demographics are at in the early stages, because I know obviously this is a fresh in a new company.
Yeah, we're only like a few months old, which is like pretty cool that we got to this stage already. Like, this is the thing with, I guess, entrepreneurship is we are testing out, I guess, our customers and who they are. So we're testing out, and the way that we're testing this, and I guess like people listening that want to start a business, this is how we're testing it. It's probably like, it might not be the right way for you, but it's the way that we're testing it. We're trying out different marketing channels, seeing, you know, if people buy it. So we've been trying TikTok for the last couple weeks. We've obviously tried Instagram. We just tried like me speaking to entrepreneurs in my network and stuff like that. And you know, TikTok we've got a couple sales from it, but not too much. We got most of our sales from entrepreneurs and business owners at the moment, but not just, I guess, big business owners, although we want to go into that direction. But at the moment, it's just like small, you know, freelancers or individual business owners and stuff like that. But, you know, we're still testing it, right? Like, a lot of people have bought it just because it's a cool tool. Like, they've never owned a business card in their life, but they see this and they're like, I want this. So it's quite cool to know we're not actually just competing with the pay with business card industry, but like, it might even be its own market in itself. Like, it is quite cool. I remember there is this sort of like data analysis that you can do in terms of, I guess, like which market that you fall into, and it's called the Snip Test. And it's very mathematical, but I guess the essence of it is, if, I guess, prices of one market increase, or if the prices of paper business cards increase, what would that do in terms of sales of your business card, of like my business cards, for instance? And if there's no real correlation, then they're probably in different markets. If there's a small correlation, then probably like very similar. But if there's a big correlation, then they're in the same market, right? This is just like a theory. This is like a theory that it's like an empirical theory, but I guess the concept still stands, where I guess if it's a substitute for that product, so if people are buying it instead of a paper business card, then you're competing with paper business cards. But if they're just buying it outright and they've never owned a paper business card before, then that's a cool thing, because we know like it's a new industry that we might be going into. It's a new market. So at the moment, to answer your question, we don't entirely know actually like who our customer is, and like we'd probably know in the next few months, you know, once we've fleshed out our marketing structures and stuff like that, and our sales strategies and stuff like that. But at the moment, not really. That's why we started this launch group as well. For other business owners that want to start a tech business or software business or any sort of business, like having a launch group is so important. Like, and it doesn't have to be in terms of like a group chat, which is what we have, but it could be like a mailing list, or it could be, I don't know what else it could be. It could be Facebook group. It could be like literally anything really. It could be just a group of like people that you meet every week. It could be a physical thing. But like the important thing with them is that obviously I can see the profile of each person. I speak to them on a weekly basis, right? And they also give us features that they want in the profile. So it's customer validation there and then, which is really good for us, because before we would just like build out features because we're kind of half guessing like whether people would like it. Whereas now they suggest features to us. We know that they would love it. And if they would love it, chances are other people would love it. And they're very sort of honest about their feedback, positive or negative, on what we're doing. So I've got a very good understanding of who our hardcore customer demographic are, and it's small business owners, usually 1 or 2 members in that business, like a handful of people in the team. And they're usually quite young as well. They're usually like millennial age, primarily like male as well, which is a bit, I don't know if that's because maybe like it's the technology that we're putting out there or our different sales channels, or I don't know. But we have had in recent weeks more females ordering it. So I don't know, maybe it was just like an anomaly, I don't know, in the first few months. But yeah, I think that is really important for a business to know, is like who their sort of customer segments are, and break it down very, very like heavily. Not just in terms of, I guess, data. So not just in terms of, I guess, their age, their sex, their whatever, stuff like that, but also in terms of, I guess, personas. So what are they trying to achieve in life? What are their motivations? What makes them happy? What makes them sad? Stuff like that. And that's really important, because you can actually build a product that they would love, they would actually fall in love with, because you're building a product around their visceral sort of problems. So for us, we're building a product that's like a biodegradable plastic and like reusable for life business card that's quite cool, and obviously it's contactless. I forgot to mention as well, no one needs an app to use the card. I know that's a question that I get quite a lot. So no one needs an app.
I was going to ask it
to use it. Yeah, but this is the thing. We're not just creating this card like that. That's not our product. Our product on a high level is we're trying to get people more meaningful connections. We're trying to make them happy with a wider network. We're trying to get people noticed. We're trying to, give them more status in networking events. We're trying to give them more authority or whatever. So these are more visceral things. And when you kind of break that down in your mind, it does give you a lot of clarity as a business owner to where you want to go next as the card. So we want the card to be way more premium than it is right now. We want the card to be, we want it to have more features on the profile to allow our users to have that sort of like more meaningful connection, to save time, to be happier in terms of those things. So that launch group is really important to us, and the add to contacts button was actually suggested by someone in our launch group. So it's really important for anyone in the business. So if anyone actually wants to join our launch group, you can. How's best to probably buy a card first, and then the link will be in the email that you get to join the launch group.
Yeah, you got my marketing mind kind of spinning. You know what I mean? Like I see a lot of really cool avenues you can do, whether it's targeting like digital entrepreneurs, kind of like what I said, or getting the members after work hanging out in Shoreditch or something like that. That's an area in London, for those of you that don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's such a dynamic tool as well, and customer segmenting and things of that nature. But I want to go back to the kind of the responses you get when you kind of give them that pitch about, okay, number one, it's contactless. Number two, it's going to really help with the innovation of technology, like you just talked about, in networking. But I'm curious to hear the type of responses you get when you go into that pitch of like, hey, in addition to having this advanced technology, being able to network so much easier, it's also a solution to not being wasteful. I mean, I would imagine that a lot of people probably think that's pretty cool. And one of those things where they didn't really think about how wasteful a business card was, kind of like what we mentioned earlier. I'm curious to see what type of responses you've been getting from the entrepreneurs and from your Slack group and things like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that the contactless feature is really cool. So it's just like the sort of like you only need to ever have one card, and that card it looks pretty cool, and like the status that comes with that is pretty cool as well. But yeah, it's in terms of the waste as well. Like, but this is the thing. I think when we just start, like as we just started, I guess our customer segment is a bit different to where we want to be, because right now the only kind of pain point that we're solving is, well, I guess like the only thing that we're doing is like it's a cool tool that you can use to network. Whereas, and the reason we're not hitting on that sort of the wasteful nature is because it's mainly businesses that waste all this paper, business cards, because they're the ones that order it for their employees and stuff like that. So once we're at a stage where we can go B2B, then we can definitely solve that problem. But we've just launched with the B2C side, and we're going to continue the B2C side because like we love it. It's amazing, but it's the businesses mainly that waste all the paper business cards. So once we go to them, that's the selling point that we'll give to them, because that's the sort of demographic that exists. And obviously a lot of businesses want to be forward focused. They want to be sustainable in their nature. But if they're still giving out their employees like thousands of paper business cards that 80% go to waste, it's like, okay, well, it makes a lot more sense for you to order just one for one employee, and that'll be their card forever, right? Until they leave or whatever. So it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a ton of sense. I mean, maybe for me as well, you know, like I mentioned, I ordered my business cards and everything, and maybe that was just me being formal with it and probably not a necessity as well. But there's definitely, you know, something really good for the BTCs as well, like those small business owners that you were talking about. But you mentioned that you guys really love what you're doing right now in that market segment as well. But I also heard you say earlier that you did kind of want to target some of the bigger companies and stuff like that. So how do you kind of foresee the direction of Wing going in the future? Do you see it being both, or do you see it kind of more evolving from the small business owner to more of a corporate focus on those bigger industries, or do you see it a kind of a mix of the two?
See, when I look at before I enter this sort of market, there are quite a few competitors out there doing like what we're trying to do. However, what I would say is that, like, just from looking at their websites, looking at like the sort of things they're putting out there, it looks like these people have just started just because they want to get a quick buck, or like the margins and stuff. I don't know, like maybe like they want to basically just put something out there, make a quick bit of money. But with us, like, we really don't see it that way. Like we charge lower than they do, just because we want people to use it. Like they charge, I think like one of our competitors charges like £99 for their metal card. And when we come out with their metal card, it's not going to be that much, like nowhere near. So, and like actually there's one in the US that charges like $250 per year to have a metal card. So it's like, they're crazy expensive just because I feel like they want to make, that's per year as well. It doesn't make sense to me, but there might be a lot of money in it, especially if they put a lot of money behind Facebook ads, and a lot of our competitors are putting a lot of money behind Facebook ads. But I don't think they see I think that's just it. That's it. There's no end goal. They're like, once I make the money, I'll just leave the market. Like, that's it. But with us, we really see, like, we really want to innovate across all the sort of stages of in-person networking to make it as easy as possible to create, as, you know, really meaningful connections for a lot of people. So we don't just see ourselves as a card company at the moment. Like, at the moment, we are just a card company, but in the future, we're not going to be like that. We want to be more software and just making it easier for people to network. What was your original question?
No, the original question was just going to be, how do you see your guys' company evolving?
Yeah.
Like whether or not, because right now you guys talked about the small business owner, kind of that freelancer being a target market. But then I had also heard you mention that corporates, businesses is also going to be in the future as well, and how you were going to manage kind of combining the two.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so that's why I talked. So the reason why I brought up the competitors, because they don't really have a vision of where they want to be. So whenever someone's like, oh, this is just like a copy of this or a copy of that, when they talk about Wing, it's like, yeah, I guess, but you won't say that in the next year when we're going to be having technology that really takes over from them, because they're just doing it for money at the moment. We're not doing it for that. We're doing it to like help people. We're doing it to help the planet and stuff like that. So I really see us growing as more of a software company to really, you know, innovate within that space. Like, I think a lot of other competitors see themselves as more hardware. They don't really concentrate on the software at all. So their profile is like quite poor. They don't really concentrate on that side. So yeah, we want to make some softwares that really help people network, and the add to contacts button is a prime example of like where we want to be. Like, stuff like that is a very good example of where we want to be. And once we get into that space of like more meaningful connections for people, then we would go to like businesses and individuals, and we can sell that software to basically, create more meaningful connections for everyone. So that's kind of where we want to be. And obviously the card will be kind of the core of all of that. Because that's where we started. That's where we see our value as well. So yeah, it's quite exciting because there's so many different avenues we can go down. We haven't limited ourselves at all. Whereas like other competitors, I feel like have really boxed themselves in. They're not really thinking ahead of, or they're not really thinking of the possibilities of where they could go, with the card. So yeah, it's pretty cool where we're thinking of going.
That add to contact feature sounds amazing, because that's something I always run into an issue with. You got to open your phone, you got to add to contact. Let's be honest, sometimes you don't remember everybody's name, if it's relatively new. So having that link profile, that add to contact is going to be, I think, a fantastic feature. You mentioned a couple things within that answer as well that I found really interesting. I want to ask you about as well. Again, we got the Wing co-founder with us on today's episode, Mr. Sina Sadrzadeh, and I wanted to talk about a little bit about the messaging that you kind of message, because you talked about forward thinking for companies, especially now. I mean, I think in the UK it's quite similar to the US, where a lot of the companies want to get ahead, particularly on social issues, and climate change and the environment is certainly one of those issues as well. And you mentioned kind of that forward messaging marketing and things like that going forward, and touching on that. So I guess when you get to that level and you kind of give that approach to those companies, is how big of a messaging and how big of a play is that going to be for you guys in addition to the contactless technology? How do you think you'll balance that type of pitch in terms of your marketing? Yeah,
I mean, it's really interesting. I would love to say like the environmental impact will just like carry us forward. But here's the thing, like and I think for anyone that thinks that's the case, like hasn't been in business enough to know that it's not the case, unfortunately. Like my previous business was around software, around food waste, so trying to reduce food waste with software. And whenever you're kind of like talking about, it was around donations as well, donating excess food. And it was really difficult to convince businesses to partake in it because like they'd have to pay us some money, but they like that food would go to a charitable cause. But I guess they don't see any financial benefit from it. They don't see any saving in money. They don't see any like increase in marketing value, or they don't see, I guess, an improvement to their bottom line, which is what they want. So I've had that experience of trying to sell a sustainable or like ethical solution to businesses, and it's really tricky. It's really, really tricky. So I've learned my lesson there. And I know that the entry point is, I mean, it's quite good to have that for us, like the sustainability thing, because it's what we started, it's what we care about so much. Like, I think if you go on like our competitors' websites and if you look at ours, like we started this because of the sustainable element. Like our card is made of like 100% biodegradable plastic, and like we care about the trees that are cut down, like wasted because of the paper business cards, right? But like, I know for a fact that it won't carry us in those conversations with businesses. Like, we need to be able to save them money. We need to be able to give them extra value that is, quantifiable by either savings or extra revenue. And whether that's like saving time, whether that's saving, actual money, whether that's actually like leading to, client generation or stuff like that. If you can actually deliver value to them, in terms of costs or revenues, whatever, that's when they'll actually buy it. When it's a sustainable thing, and if you've just got that going for you, it's a very tough sell. I'm not saying it's impossible, because you might get lucky and there's maybe a head of marketing or head of business operations that really cares about that sort of stuff. But usually you're selling to people who are very senior, very executive, who have been in the business for 20, 30 years, who frankly don't care about these issues as much as younger people do. So, and these are the truths. Like, this is just like how business works, right? And although it is sad, like, you've got to build a product, I guess, that ensures that it delivers value to your end customer. And if your end customer is a business, you have to be able to give them value in terms of that. So, and like just being able to save them, I guess, the guilt. They might not have that guilt in the first place, like you and I have when you're throwing away paper business cards. Like that might not even exist.
No, I agree completely. And I think that's why there's like that fine balance in your marketing strategy and in your sales pitch, which I find your company kind of interesting in that. And that's kind of why I talked about, your freelancers as a target and your corporations, because I feel like the pitches could be different. Because I think personally, you obviously will understand it better than I think that environment pitch might work better for somebody, let's say me, or a smaller business that's like, oh, I only really need a card for myself, maybe one other person. That's super cool. I'm not going to order 100 cards because usually, they require you to order like 100. You're like, I don't really need 100, right? Versus the corporation where you could almost use it more as like a bonus pitch. Like, hey, in addition to Contactless, in addition to this innovation that's going to get you more clients and improve your networking and things like that, you also have the added benefit of kind of putting off that message of environment and message of, preserving, the environment and things like that if you're a big corporation. So I find it a pretty interesting spot that you're kind of in terms of your marketing, because I feel like with your wide base, and of course you're running all your customer segments, your data analysis right now, that it'll be interesting to see what really works for each segment and which target.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. And like, you have to kind of balance the two depending on who you speak to, right? Like that's the trick of sales, right? Like, so yeah, I massively agree with you. I think it's really important, like, to balance the two. But yeah, like with the freelancers and like small business owners, they really care about that environmental impact. So that's what we play on, because they're similar to us, I guess. We're closer to them than we are with the big corporates. So like the reason why we started is to help those sort of people, more than the big corporates. But we also see a lot of problems that exist with big corporates that we feel like can be helped. And when you're kind of like selling a solution that can save a lot of trees, it's like, and corporates are, the big sort of contenders and the big sort of people that are attributable to that, then you've got to sell to corporates as well. Like, yeah, to actually make a huge impact, that's who you have to convince. And if you have to convince them, then you have to build out some products and, value propositions that convince them very, very easily. The only thing with sustainability, more in the sustainability aspect rather than, I guess, just us, the only thing, I guess, that they can get value from when it comes to just sustainability, so no other sort of tech value or whatever, like cost savings or revenue generation, is possibly they could get more customers from the marketing aspect. I know a lot of companies that are just sustainable, that's all they're selling, that play on that. So they're like, yeah, you can play this back to consumers and they'll buy more. But when you're selling and I've seen that work very well actually, like there's companies that just play on that. But when you're selling to businesses and when you're selling a solution that's very like business to business orientated, as in they only use a business card when they're talking to other businesses or when they're talking to other sort of individuals, and it's not consumer facing, that doesn't stick. So I guess you have to really define how you want to speak to different people, how you want to like structure your value propositions with different people, what value you can offer to them and that sort of thing. Because with us, we can't just say, yeah, you can put this on your marketing, might not work. Like you can maybe attract more better employees from that, but it's a bit of a stretch. So that like the way we want to structure it is you can save time, you can like develop more value, like lead generation and stuff like that. That's what we're going down the route with.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely spot on, because you're right. It's all about value in business. And, capitalism is literally all about your value propositions. What type of value are you providing the business? What are you providing a consumer? And unfortunately, like you said, just saying, yeah, you're going to save 1,000+ trees ain't enough. So that's why I think it's interesting, though, because I do think that you will have and I'll be very curious to monitor and see how you guys progress in the future, because I do think you'll have two different segments where you can kind of give two different marketing pitches, and one's going to work really well. Like that would work on me. I mean, it did work on me. And then as evidence of bringing you on the show. And then I think from a bigger corporate business standpoint, you know, if I go knock on the door on Microsoft and, you know, be like, hey, head over to Redmond, which is a suburb of Seattle, knock on the door of Microsoft, say, hey, guess what? You can save 1,000 trees with this card. It's not going to work.
Right? Stick.
So no. So it's going to be an interesting thing and I'm very curious to kind of monitor your team's progress and how that goes forward with your evolution in your business in the years. But I want to give you a little bit of time as well to talk about how people, because I think that there are probably a decent amount of people that are entrepreneurs, are small business owners, or you know what, even people that just kind of want to have a cool card to share links and network with in general, because I mean, I think there's a little bit of a market for that too. So tell people a little bit how they could buy your card, what types of benefits you get. I know you mentioned about a group and a bit of a community as well, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, just to show you, I guess, how the card works again. Sorry about audio listeners only. Actually, I'll try to do it far away so that the microphone picks it up. I don't know if you heard that, but you just press it on someone's phone. So it works with iOS and Android. No one needs an app. And your profile comes up. So this background is customizable. So I picked this one, but you might not like it. You can pick whatever you want. And yeah, you can go onto any link. So I don't know if you can, my lighting's quite poor. Sorry about that. But it's got like your LinkedIn, WhatsApp. It can have your Instagram, your email address. Like for me, I do a lot of blogging. So it's got a link to my blog and like YouTube, anything really, like TikTok. We could have TikTok. And yeah, people can like go directly to whatever they want. So like say if you want to check out my LinkedIn, press LinkedIn, go straight there. The lighting's quite poor, isn't it?
Beautiful.
But you can see it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
the message
that's the product.
Clear.
And if you want to check it out, if you want to purchase it, I think we cut out for a sec. But yeah, if you want to get one, like, thank you so much. If you want to get one, that's amazing, because we're a small business, so it means so much if you want to support us. You can just go on our website, wingcard.io. The link will be in Will's description, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, you can just check us out. We ship worldwide as well, so I know like we've had a lot of customers from the US recently, which is very cool. We didn't really expect it, but yeah, we do ship worldwide. I think our weirdest kind of order from like a weird country, I guess, like not weird country, but just like we didn't expect it at all, was probably Israel. Like didn't expect that at all. But it's quite cool to know that we have like customers around the world, which is like really weird for like, I guess, a starting company. But yeah, because it can work on iOS, Android, no one needs an app, so it's completely like, it's compatible with a lot of different devices. So yeah, that's how you can check it out. I think as well, for Will's listeners for this podcast, we're offering like our lowest price, because we are planning on increasing our price a little bit, just because like we're going out of the launch phase, but we're still going to offer you guys the low launch rate price. So yeah, if you do want to check it out, it's probably the best to use Will's link, because otherwise you won't have to pay slightly more. So yeah, that's the card. And also, like, if you do want to get involved with, suggesting new features that we build out exclusively for you, and then, if you want to get access to new features, exclusive, access to new features, you can join our launch group once you buy a card. So you can join the launch group. There's about 20 of us in the group at the moment. Really cool atmosphere. So, I mean, yeah, you just message our group on Slack saying like, I'd love like this sort of background because it matches my brand, and we can build it out for you. Or I want this social media platform, and we build it out for you. Or I don't know, someone suggested they want a location, so we build that out for them. Literally anything. You can just come, and yeah, we do listen to our customers quite a lot because yeah, they support us. We need to build out solutions for them. We need to make you guys happy. So yeah, if you do want to buy one, we really do appreciate it. And Will's link is the cheapest link that you'll find.
Hit up the link. Take advantage of the deal. I mean, the cards are always going to be affordable, like you mentioned earlier, but I mean, everybody likes a cheaper price. So if you're interested in a card, hit up the link in the description, and an opportunity. We'll have that posted as well in the future for our blog posting that we'll have on this article and this feature on Wing. in Sina there as well. I also want to touch just last and briefly a little bit on another kind of side venture that you have that also really interests me for obvious reasons, and that's the podcast that you launched. The Millennial Entrepreneur podcast, and I think that's super cool. Obviously, the millennial themed. Tell us just a little bit about why you started that and kind of the platform it is and how people can check that out.
Yeah, so I run a podcast called The Millennial Entrepreneur. So I saw the reason why I started it over a year ago now. And the reason why I started it is because I saw so many entrepreneurship podcasts out there that were just interviewing sort of middle-aged men that kind of got rich from like the early stages of the internet. And I didn't, as a young founder myself, I didn't really relate to them. Like what they did in the early stage of the internet was amazing, of course, but you can't really do that much now with with the stuff that they did. So the reason why I started the Millennial Entrepreneur is because I wanted to get founders who other young founders could relate to. So it's a platform for just young founders. So we've had, just to give you guys examples. So we've got people who have won Forbes 30 under 30, the youngest ever person who's got investment from Dragon's Den, which is our version of Shark Tank. And we've had TEDx speakers as well. So it's just focusing on young people, which is really cool. And it's really amazing for me because I get massively inspired by people who are doing some amazing things. And they're, the sort of messages I get are amazing because, they're really relatable. I try to interview, founders from all different backgrounds, genders and that sort of thing. Just because entrepreneurship isn't just about like middle-aged white men. It's open to everyone. And with this platform that I've created for people, for other young founders, I hope that that's the sort of message that comes across because I try so hard to make it inclusive for everyone because entrepreneurship shouldn't be like that at all. As a founder of color myself, I get massively inspired by seeing other founders, minority founders that have done some amazing things. So yeah, that's the podcast. It's on episode like 65 at the moment. I've had some pretty amazing guests. I guess loads of people ask me about my favorite guests. I don't know. It's really difficult to say. But I guess I had this woman on, her name's Stephanie Sword Williams. She was pretty cool. She's Forbes 30 under 30. And like, she found success really, like, I guess a bit later in her career. She was like 29, 28 when she won Forbes 30 under 30, and she was in some like dead end job. She wasn't really enjoying it, and like one day she just quit. And literally, like, she wrote an article about how women should be more empowered in the workplace, and you shouldn't wait until you're like at very senior levels in a company to be able to have people celebrate your talents and stuff like that. And the article went crazy. Within 6 months, she got like a book deal. And then she was like a TEDx speaker, and then she won Forbes under 30. And now she's like a freelance, speaker doing, some amazing events. So she did an event with like Puma, and she's doing like all these different events to empower women in workplaces. So I loved her story because it happened like, it was amazing to hear someone hated their job, quit. It's a very empowering story. I love this. I love stories like that. And just really took control of her life and just pushed in the direction that she wants to go into to empower the people that struggle with the problem that she struggled with. I love stories like that. So yeah, so she's probably my favorite guest. But I've had so many other people like sustainability entrepreneurs. That's another soft spot of mine because obviously like with my business as well, it's around sustainability. So I've had someone who's created technology to convert like human feces into electricity. That is like phenomenal to me. So he's making those like makeshift toilets in African villages that create electricity that the villages can use for like cooking and heating and stuff like that. So like, what the fuck? How does that even happen? But yeah, so he did that and I had him on the podcast. So yeah, just people like that really. Some really cool people.
Yeah, definitely check out the Millennial Entrepreneur podcast. It's fantastic. Sina does a great job. And, it's one of the things that kind of inspired me to get going. My podcast is very similar, definitely surrounding solutions to global issues that we have. So definitely give that a listen to. You can follow it on Instagram is kind of the place where I found it. It's also on YouTube. It's a video podcast. You can watch episodes if you're into that. And then, of course, you can find it, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but Apple and Spotify as well.
Yeah, literally every
and they can download
podcast
it.
platform.
Yeah.
Even in India, I know India's got their own like podcast platforms, so we're actually like on those ones as well. Took us a while to get on there, but we're on there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. Expanding the demographic. Gotta love it. Sina, anything you'd like to add regarding Wing and what you guys are doing there in terms of, sharing that with the listeners?
Well, what I would love for the listeners to take away from Wing is that I guess like we're not like the other contactless business cards companies. We really want to help people in terms of creating meaningful conversations, meaningful connections with people. So, I mean, yeah, if you buy into us early, join our launch group, or if you buy into us later down the line, like it's okay. But I guess what I'd love for you to take away from this is that we won't just be a contactless business card company. We really want to build software around, all your pain points. But the way we want to, to accelerate our growth, to ensure we can satisfy all those different pain points, like join our launch group and, follow us on Instagram and that sort of stuff. Give us suggestions, and that will really help us to grow and solve all those problems for you. So yeah, I'm a big advocate of trying to listen to people, listen to a lot of feedback, listen to consumers. So I will definitely listen to you, like whatever feedback you have, whether you think it's amazing, whether you think it's like the worst thing you've ever seen, please let me know. Like I'll listen, I promise. And I'll probably agree with you, whatever you say. So yeah, that's what I'd love for the listeners to take away. So thank you so much, Will, for having me on the podcast. It was such a pleasure. And I hope people enjoyed it as well.
Thank you so much for coming on again. Once again, we're here with the Wing co-founder, and this is innovation for new business cards. Not only does it eliminate waste and eliminate and help the environment as well, but not more importantly, arguably, but what it also does is enhance technology for an outdated practice for networking. So it's a fantastic way to keep up to date. Once again, Wing co-founder Sina Sadrzadeh, excuse me. And again, you can find it in the link. Again, if you want the cheaper price, you can definitely find that in the description on our platforms. If you want to make sure, go ahead and get it. Again, it ships into the U.S. They got plenty of clients from the U.S. as well to join that group. If you're from the U.K., correct me if I'm wrong. Is it free shipping in the UK?
Yeah, free shipping in the UK. US, just like it's like $1 or something. I can't remember on top of my head, but. Yeah, I mean, with your price, it's the cheapest ever. And like, oh yes, this is another thing as well. A lot of competitors charge like a monthly thing. We don't do that. It's just like one-off and you've got it forever. So yeah, it's a lot more affordable in that way. And yeah, that's it really.
Beautiful. If you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner listening, definitely get it. Wing card, get it in on the business. It looks cool as well. You can check it out on YouTube, obviously on their website, which is wingcard.io. Follow them on Instagram and everything. Support a great business that's providing a solution to some great causes, or to a problem that we have with waste. Also with a networking issue. It's always fantastic to meet people. They say relationships, the quality of relationships determine the happiness of your life. So networking.
Exactly.
We want to encourage that as well. So everyone, thanks again for tuning in to this episode of Talkin Solutions with the Chesh. Again, we'll have more information on Wing in the future on our website and our platform. So definitely looking forward to sharing more about that. And Sina, thanks again so much for coming on. I look forward to following your guys' journey as well in the future.
Thank you so much, Will. It was such a pleasure. And if anyone's actually interested in custom orders as well, like we're doing that at the moment. So if anyone wants to message me on that, don't hesitate. Metal's coming out soon, but don't know when. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
That's all right. Yeah, keep the eyes peeled for the metal. As of right now, the 100% biodegradable plastic is a fantastic solution as well. So thanks so much, Sina, for coming on. Until the next episode, I hope everybody has a great rest of their day.